All right, everybody. We've talked about Steven Crowder's divorce issues already. We've gone over the leaked video from that security camera footage where he was being like a massive like man-child and like borderline abusive husband who kind of like threatened to hit his pregnant wife while he was like forcing her to go out to run errands and like buy cleaning supplies and clean. And it just really didn't make him look good at all. And since then, let's be honest, his channel's been pretty quiet. Like, he's still doing relatively well, but he really lost a lot of broader respect when that came out. And I don't know how this flew under my radar the last 2 weeks, but I have a feeling this is gonna hurt as well as more people start picking up on it and covering it. Steven Crowder allegedly sent photos of his genitals and exchanged drugs in quote-unquote super creepy workplace, ex-staffers say. Steven Crowder has been a lightning rod for controversy since he launched his online show, Louder with Crowder, but behind the scenes, his bombastic behavior has taken center stage, with allegations of abusive behavior towards his estranged wife Hillary, as well as claims of toxic workplace conduct by former employees. For those that don't know, Steven Crowder runs an entire company. Louder with Crowder is like run out of a compound building where he's got studios and like break rooms and like an entire room of people that not only does he have a room of people that are backing him up with like microphones and whatnot, but he's got an entire production crew and he's got like he's in a compound, he's in a studio, he's massively wealthy and he's a company owner. It's not like just some guy who's passionately making YouTube content about stuff he believes in. He's running a company where his bottom line is determined on him towing the line. Now, the fallout from the contentious divorce as well as Crowder's alleged workplace misconduct threatens to derail the enormously popular show that once landed its right-wing star with a $50 million offer from the Daily Wire. Mediaite spoke with 5 former show staffers and one source close to Crowder under the condition of anonymity due to fear of retaliation, who described a workplace rife with bullying, alarming and unpredictable behavior, as well as lewd sexual workplace misconduct. Earlier this month, after repeated suspensions, Louder with Crowder decamped from YouTube, where it commanded a mighty audience of 5.8 million subscribers, to Rumble, a less regulated but much smaller alternative. The show's audience was dwindled on Rumble, to the point where his last 5 shows have averaged some 288,000 viewers. A far cry from the millions Crowder once saw per episode. Yeah, he's really fallen off. The show's viewership troubles follow years of alleged misconduct behind the scenes. One former Louder with Crowder employee told Mediaite that during his time on the show, he received unsolicited, sexually graphic texts that included photos of Crowder's genitalia. Those texts and images were reviewed by Mediaite. In the moment, we dismissed it as sort of frat boy humor. In hindsight, it's super creepy and felt groomerish, the ex-employee said. It always felt like childish behavior in the moment that then felt predatory in hindsight, he explained. Like, he was always testing people's comfort levels with that kind of behavior, because he was the boss. Though, and he had no accountability. It just continued to happen. There was no one trusted that we could complain to. So, for those that are wondering, this was not some, like, innocent just sending dick pics to the bros for, like, the daily cock check. This was him unsolicitedly, like a weirdo creep, sending his, like, male employees pictures of his junk as, like, a playful prank, but the people on the receiving end of that playful prank didn't really see it that way. In addition to receiving unwanted sexual text messages, the former employee alleged that Crowder habitually exposed himself to other male staffers, a claim backed up by 2 other sources. Once again, these are not consensual cock checks or cock inspections or like dick measure-offs. These are weird, like Crowder's just apparently kind of just whipping it out at work. Wait, daily cock check? Is that a thing that happens? You wouldn't get it. You're not a straight guy. In regards to exposing himself in general, to my knowledge, he only exposed himself to male staffers. It happened all the time. It was a regular occurrence. It usually happened when he was in a really good, sort of manic mood. So while we were all disgusted by it, and it was never welcomed, it was preferable to him being in a bad mood and how he treated people in that state, the former staffer said. Isn't there a drug that's known for putting people in, like, a very, like, good mood, and it also makes them very likely to engage in really touchy behavior, like taking off their clothes and like groping people and shit? Yeah, is that MDMA? Do you think he was high on MDMA? I think ecstasy is known for that. Yeah.
Nice cock, bro. Perfect length. Excellent curvature. 8.5 out of 10.
Steven never explained it. We never talked about it. It would just happen. And everyone would either throw out a fake, uncomfortable laugh or show clear disgust, which Steven interpreted as his reward for what he did. He continued, the more disgusted everyone seemed, the more pleasure he seemed to get from it. It's like he couldn't understand that we weren't in on his joke. So, very much just outright sexually harassing employees there, apparently, according to those ex-employees. In response to a request for comment, Louder with Crowder's CEO Gerald Morgan Jr. told Mediate, while Louder with Crowder does not provide details on personal private medical matters or personal issues, it is important to note that many of these claims are missing context, clear misrepresentations, or outright falsehoods. So very predictably, they denied it. Another source close to Crowder also said they witnessed him expose himself to male staff in the office, but chalked it up to childish behavior. I have personally witnessed that on one occasion, they said. My personal theory is that I have personally witnessed that on one occasion, they said. My personal theory is that he is a man-child and just thinks it's funny, like boys in middle school playing pranks on each other in the locker room. That, to me, seems to be his mentality. Could it be a power move? Possibly. They said. He does virtually nothing that a grown man should do for himself. Wash his own laundry, prepare his own food, buy his own groceries. Most of the time, someone else does all of that for him. So he's like a child that needs to be taken care of, and his humor reflects that type of childish behavior. That is the most believable thing I've ever heard in my life, dude. The idea of not being able to do your own laundry is ridiculous. Like, listen, I'm tempted to hire someone to do my dishes, okay? I hate doing the dishes. That's the worst chore. But laundry, it's really not that hard. You just fill a bucket, like a basket with your dirty laundry when you're done with it, and then you toss that shit into a machine with a couple of, like, cups of soap, and then you hit a button and you come back for it, like, an hour later and put it in another machine, and then you hit a button as well. Throw a couple of pieces of paper, like little paper, the fabric softener shit in there, close it, throw it in for like less than an hour, but you can come back an hour later, and then you just bring it back up. The hardest part is folding your laundry and putting it away, but that's not even that hard. Like, really, laundry is like the most daunting in concept, but least strenuous of chores you could possibly have to do as like an adult living on your own. It really isn't that hard. Another former employee said incidents of genital exposure in the workplace were so routine that they became almost unremarkable. And the guys just talked about it amongst themselves, and I don't want to say it became normal, but it became less of a big deal. That's wild. They got normalized to it. So there's a case to be made he was grooming employees, the former employee said. Steven may excuse some of that, saying he was friends with some of his employees, but that, again, draws some questions. There are power dynamics at play regardless of how friendly you are with staff, and also just don't send your penis in a message. So gross. True. Unless someone asks for it. Sometimes you'll get asked for it, but not there. A different ex-staffer said Crowder would often make uncomfortable comments during a men's-only Bible study he held in 2021. The staffer said Crowder frequently remarked that, quote-unquote, men used to be more physically intimate with each other, and then, quote-unquote, would reference a passage from the Bible where Abraham's servant would put his hands on Abraham's inner thigh to be closer to Abraham's descendants' balls. Come on, guys. We all know every bigot is either paid to be a bigot out of sheer ignorance, or is in the closet. About something. Allegations of Crowder revealing his genitalia in the workplace were first reported by the New York Post. In response, Crowder mocked the allegations during a skit on his show. The Post report, to be fair, the New York Post sucks. The Post report came in the wake of the publication of Ring video footage from Crowder's home, which showed him berating his then pregnant wife, saying, quote unquote, "I will f you up." The two are now embroiled in a bitter divorce. Yet Crowder's alleged penchant for exhibitionism and angry outbursts are only a portion of the inappropriate workplace behavior described by sources who worked for the YouTube star. Multiple former staffers and a source close to Crowder claimed the conservative firebrand would offer and ask staffers for prescription drugs like Klonopin, I don't know what that is, an anticonvulsant used to treat seizures and is also prescribed to treat anxiety, as well as cannabis gummies and opiates like Percocet. He was on Percocet. Mediate reviewed text exchanges between Crowder and former employees confirming these claims. Steven was known for passing out prescription drugs fairly freely, one former employee alleged. Oh yeah, for those that don't know, these conservative outlets that spew nothing but religious fundamentalist propaganda are massive degenerates behind the scenes. Just huge degenerates. It's like when Lauren Southern exposed Paul Joseph Watson sexually harassing her. It's surprising to employees that when your boss is offering and or asking for things like that, they said. However, because the work environment is so crazy, employees end up getting desensitized to the point where when things like that occur, it almost just seems normal. It's not until you actually step away for a bit that you realize how wrong these things were. The former employee who received genitalia photos from Crowder shared a similar sentiment about working for the YouTube star. "We've often debated this. It's like any abusive relationship. When it's good, it can be really fun," they said. "Most people enjoy the work itself. When it's bad, it's really bad. But over time, most become so numb to it, they don't see how messed up the place is until they got out." In the past, Crowder's troubles have prompted him to step away from the show. On December 10, 2020, Crowder sent an email with the subject line, "Official notice, some life decisions," which announced to his staff his plans to retire. In the lengthy message, Crowder apologized for his behavior. "I hope everyone here understands just how much you mean to me, and how sorry I am for falling short of my duties every time I've spoken out of anger or ego," he wrote. "Everyone here deserves better. Everyone here deserves a leader they can believe in, and in real-world results. I just don't think I'm the guy for the job. I love you all very much." 3 ex-staffers claim Crowder checked into the Carlton Springs, a psychiatric and chemical dependency facility in Texas. He went to rehab. Shortly after that email was sent. Before long, though, Crowder returned to the show and continued to broadcast to his large audience. 3 years later, a source close to Crowder said working for the scandal-embroiled host remains very stressful. "It's like walking on eggshells most of the time," they said. "Most employees are overworked and underpaid. Nothing is ever good enough. Office morale is extremely low, and many employees have stated that they want to give up and quit." And there you have it. Jesus. None of this surprises me at all, but what does surprise me is the fact that this story went under my radar and went under the radar of so many other lefty content creators, because, how is this not talked about fervently by everybody when this dropped? I guess, it's probably because so many of the lefty content sphere are just obsessed with making hate videos on Debate Bros. We probably have, 4 new big anti-Debate Bro videos in the pipeline right now that are bound to come out over the next couple months. So I guess there's just too much attention being put into the, culling of Debate Bros from the online left to call out Steven Crowder's, insane scandals that he's been embroiled in. But, well, at least someone's out here covering this. I know that at least Sam Cedar covered it, too. So, once again, the Majority Report comes out supreme.